Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Adam and this is AJD Reacts. So if you're new, could you please like, subscribe and comment please? So today I've got one of my favourite songs for you of all time, Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire some facts and information about the song for you. If you've got any more interesting facts that I've missed in this video, let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to look at them and learn. So this song was released on their fourth studio album, Led Zeppelin 4, in 1971, the 8th of November. It was recorded between December 1970 and early 1971-ish, but it was never released as a single. Now the music execs wanted them to do this, but the manager refused all requests. It was recorded in two places. So number one was the Basing Street Island Records studio in London, which was a converted church. And if you'd watched my previous video where I talked about going to California, Jethro Tull recorded on the upper floors and then Led Zeppelin were in the basement, but they didn't really mix because of the timings. So Led Zeppelin would record it during the night pretty much, or just they weren't on the same time frame. The second place, I'm going to botch this pronunciation, but Brunner Era. Oh, that's terrible. But let's just forget that. And this is where a lot of the Led Zeppelin music was recorded. Jimmy Page found inspiration there. He'd had the music prepared for a while, but then he wrote it at that cottage. So apparently he always kept a cassette recorder around with him. And then, so the intro and the idea for the music came from bits of tape music that he'd done previously. Just a little bit of information. Brunner means hill of gold in Welsh. So the lyrics, or at least a resemblance of what they would look like, were written in One Night in Headley Grange. So apparently Jimmy Page was sat doing the acoustics and Robert Plant was sat by a log fire, and just the idea of a woman who had everything and never gave anything back. You can't really buy your way into heaven is what he was trying to think. He just said he was in a cynical mood and it just came to him one night. So a few Led Zeppelin songs, and especially the one that Robert Plant was writing, were apparently inspired by J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. So in the lyrics when it says, "In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees," apparently that was supposed to be from the smoke rings that Gandalf blew out in the Lord of the Rings, but who knows. And I think it's really important not to get too carried away with the meaning of the song and detract from how great the song is itself. So Robert Plant said, depending on what day it is, I still interpret the song in a different way. And I wrote it. That's kind of just saying, like, don't look into meanings, don't properly cement yourself into one meaning. It's not that important. The song's what's important. So enough about the lyrics for the now. Let's talk about more of the instrumentals. I think this is one of my favourite songs because of how it builds. Now, my interpretation might be wrong, but I love it how it starts from, so you start off with folk and also almost medieval, then it builds up to slower electric, then it goes into like a guitar solo, and then hard rock. Now I think the Stairway to Heaven is when you get to hard rock, that's the holiest of music, and really you're in heaven at that point. I mean, you're pretty much in heaven at the guitar solo, but yeah, when you get to that hard rock, the build-up is really holy almost. That may be an exaggeration, but you know, that's just my interpretation. So John Paul Jones didn't play bass, he played the strings, he played keyboards and flutes, and also recorders you see here at the beginning. So there's obviously that lawsuit thing with Taurus's spirit. Now, when you listen to that song, you can hear bits, but also it's just it's not, I wouldn't say generic, but Jimmy Page said it was in poor man's Bach in Bourrée in E minor. Now I definitely botched that pronunciation again. It's becoming a theme in this video, but yeah, when you listen to that classical music, you can definitely hear that classical and almost medieval arrangement of the song. To pin it directly on Taurus's spirit, I don't think, obviously they didn't win the lawsuit case, so it wasn't copyright. The inspiration went probably much further than a song that came a couple of years earlier. So I think the really enjoyable thing about this song is the slow build. So I don't think even the drums come in till about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. I think my favourite bit is the guitar solo, because in there it feels like, same with Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, you feel like you're being transported in like a time portal and then you arrive at hard rock. Again, that might be an exaggeration, but you feel like you're being transported to that next level of the stairway, which is the hard rock right at the top. So the famous guitar solo by Jimmy Page was done on his 1959 Fender Telecaster. So he got this from his friend Jeff Beck, who's also a guitarist. He did this in 3 takes, I think. So he did it in 3 completely different takes, see which works best, and obviously the result you've got is close to being perfect guitar solo wise. So I hate to do this because I think it's a load of rubbish and the theory is flawed. So this song got accused of backmasking, which is basically, I've talked about it in a few of my Beatles videos, where you'll play it forward and it says one thing and you reverse it and it's got a hidden meaning. Yeah. So the band were rumoured to be involved in Satanic ritual and the Golden Dawn and cults. So I'm going to play this section here, and this is what it says forward. So here is it backwards. Yeah, I'll put it in captions because I don't think that was really clear, and it's backwards anyway. I think that's a load of rubbish. So for reference and for balance for the story, I'm going to tell you where it came from. So Jimmy Page bought Aleister Crowley's house in Scotland, which was called Boleskine House. So Aleister Crowley was an occultist, a magician, and an all-round pretty weird guy. He said in his books for his followers to read backwards, to read satanic messages So he was also part of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Now, I'm going to play you a little bit of this interview by Jimmy Page, where he talked about his fascination of the Golden Dawn and this occult, old style of cult. So this was an Oxford Union interview, so I'll just play that.
Oh, my involvement in the Golden Dawn is in so much as I was very interested actually in Eastern and Western mysticism, and I spent time reading and researching when I was younger. I guess that's it. There were some very eminent characters in the Golden Dawn, and I found it very interesting to see the history of those that had been in it, and this sort of esoteric movement, and also sort of what went on, the offshoots of it, of that sort of love of all things mystical and magical, all things bright and beautiful, really.
Do you think that's why people did that thing when they played Stairway to Heaven backwards and said that you were talking about Satan?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to go straight back to the Beatles here, because there was a time when somebody wrote a thesis about Paul McCartney being dead, and Paul is dead. And if you played back the records, I'm very serious here, it's crazy, but if you played back the records, there was something which said Paul is dead. And so then they started to play back all manner of records, and of course we were going to be main candidates for it. And somebody said, oh, it says My Sweet Satan in it. And I thought, oh, gosh, it's hard enough writing the music one way round rather than that way.
Aleister Crowley is a really strange person. So he went to Sicily in the 1920s, where he founded his church, the Abbey of Felina. So he was all about spiritual enlightenment, getting closer. Basically the opposite of what the church is doing, trying to get closer to God. He was trying to probably get closer to the devil. He declared himself as Ipsissimus, who was beyond the God. So now in 1923, an Englishman in his church died in a satanic ritual. It was believed that he was drinking the blood of a cat, and then he died in them mysterious circumstances. So Aleister Crowley died in the 40s, and he was addicted to heroin, almost like Charles Manson, when he'd become a cult leader and people would believe every word he says. And he's very influential and started his own religion. Robert Page wasn't happy with these rumours. In an interview, he said that Stairway to Heaven was made with every best intention, and as far as reversing tapes and putting messages on the end, that's not my idea of making music. It's really sad. The first time I heard it was early in the morning when I was living at home, and I'd heard it on the news, a news programme. I was absolutely drained all day. I walked around, I couldn't actually believe, I couldn't take people seriously who'd come up with sketches like that. And I completely agree. I mean, reversing tapes, if you've got subtitles, you can put anything you want and make it sound like that. You can digitally manufacture the tapes to say what you want to say almost, and yeah, I just think it's rubbish and kind of disrespectful to the song. So the first ever public performance of this song was in the 5th of March 1971 at Belfast Ulster Hall. Now, John Paul Jones said that the audience were bored to tears, apparently, waiting to hear songs they knew. Can you imagine that, being bored by this song? Well, they didn't know what they were doing. There's my facts and information about Stairway to Heaven. I had to do this because it's one of my favourite songs, and when you look more into the backstory, influences, and just the whole song, is really interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So can you drop a comment if there's any information I've missed out or that you'd like to share your memories of this song? Perhaps you've seen it live, you've got other stories about the song you'd like to share. So don't forget to also drop a like, subscribe, and I'll be back with another video probably in a couple of days. So thanks guys, thanks for watching.